Yo, what's up, guys? Check it out today. Here with my 2018 Mountain Cat. And anyway, that's what's on the agenda for today, right here. My track is completely screwed. I'm missing a bunch of lugs. There's one you can see. And I went and I chopped all these down to 1.5 inches. I was going to run it like that for a while, but anyway, I'm just scared of this thing blowing all apart. As you can see, it's ripped, and I'm scared I'm going to get going down the trail somewhere and it's just going to completely blow to pieces and probably screw my rad, whatever. So today I'm going to show you guys how to change your track, what you need to do, and yeah. First things first, what you're going to do is you're going to need a bearing. So if you're changing your track, and you might as well change out this bearing too. It's a cheap fix. It's like 30 bucks. There's the part number. This is a Yamaha Arctic Cat, same thing. So yeah, I got this bearing in the freezer. I suggest anybody doing this, you want to place that in the freezer. It gets it nice and cold, and it shrinks the bearing a little bit. And when you go to remove this bearing under this one, you're going to take a little bit of heat and heat up the aluminum around it, and it makes the bearing come out a lot easier. I'll show you that once we get to it. But for right now, what are we going to do? We're going to start taking the panels off of this and the hood. So let's get it. Alright guys, so I got everything off. What you're going to do, you get all your hood off. You got to plug it on the side here for your hood. Your panels, they're pretty easy. You just got this clip over here, this clip here, your panels pop off. Then you got these holding your hood on, and you're gonna have this torque down here. This goes right there on your hood, and that's a T30, it's a torque. And yeah, once you got all that off, your hood should come right off. Now let's start with the oil tank. What else over here? We got your clutch that has to be removed, so let's get started on all this. All right, as you can see, I took my exhaust off. It's right there, and the reason why I took that off is just once I get this chain case off, I got my fingers crossed that I'm going to be able to move this ahead without removing my oil lines. I really hate taking these oil lines off. I just disconnected all the wires, all the plug-ins off it for now. But yeah, I really hate removing oil lines, just for the fact that, you know, you don't want to get an air bubble or something stupid in there. But anyway, well, I'm going to see how I'm going to manage with this. But when you're doing your chain case, this outside part of these bolts, these silver colored bolts right here, Torx, this is your oil reservoir right here, the first part. So you don't want to take this apart because you're going to lose all your injection oil. The one you want to take apart is the one in the back here, these black Torx right here. So I'm going to start removing all these Torx all the way around and open up this chain case. Alright guys, now that I have all that out of the way, as you can see, these lines are still connected. It's just this one here I had to disconnect. I had to take a bolt out of here just to get this plastic pulled out far enough. So for your chain, you have your automatic tensioner right here. So you just basically lift up on that, and that gives you enough slack, and your chain will come loose. But we have to remove this lower sprocket, and that's going to help take the chain off too. So, to remove your gears, your top gear, or sorry, I got this one. So let's start with this one. This is the bottom gear, and just spread this out. This was a complete, I don't want to say the name, but anyway, it was hard to get off. And yeah, I did some cursing. The top one is actually really easy. So the top one is basically like a washer, but it spreads apart. So if you can see that right here, so you just get underneath this and you work it all the way around, and this falls off. Make sure you don't really pry on this too hard, because you'll bend it up, and anyway, it'll suck trying to put it back on. For the chain case tensioner, I just pulled out this block, and I just let this go freely. Whatever you do, if you can, try to make sure you don't take this off, because these are really hard to put back on. You got to get the spring in the right spot and everything, and it's a little bit of a headache to get that back on. The bearing that I showed you guys previously, it's in the freezer. That's going to be going down here in a little bit. So this aluminum spot right here, your bearing might not be bad, but right now I got 3,000 kilometers on this sled, and since you have it all apart, you know, for 20 or 30 bucks, whatever it cost, it's worth to put it on right now and get it over with, right? You're already in here. It's better than hitting the trail someday and that bearing going out on you, and then you're like, shit, you know, I should have changed that. So anyway, so I'm all finished with this side here, so I'm going to move over to the clutch side and get that started. Alright guys, for this side here, you're going to have a bolt, 13 millimeter bolt. You take this bolt off. Now this clutch separates, as you can see. Then you're going to have all these washers here. Make sure you do not lose these washers, because these are your spacers. So for this next part, what I usually do, so just remove your belt and you can just put it aside. That's easier with two hands. Here, you should be able to still see. So hold your belt down, just pull that clutch off. Don't lose any of your washers, like I just said. Try to keep your washers all together. Just set your clutch aside. Now what we have to do, right down here on your brake, there's a C-clip down here you have to remove. So we'll go ahead and get that off. Alright guys, I got that C-clip off, and to get a little bit better access at this, I went and I took these shields off on the side here. It's right by your footwell. They're only held on by a few torques. Alright guys, so before you get this lifted up, pull those two bolts out of the back end, because if you get that up too high and you pull those bolts out, there's going to be, it's going to fall down and hit the floor on you. So what you want to do is just take those out while your track's still on the floor, and that way there, it's not going to slam down and strip your bolts or whatever. So the next thing on my list is right here. That's the plate I was telling you about. It's got 3 bolts in it. I believe they're 10 millimeter. So you get those pulled out, and it's what this basically is like a seal. So let's get that off. Alright guys, I got them out. All 3 are right here. If you don't have one of these, I suggest you go get one, because these, I bought this a long time ago and I was like, it's probably something I'll never use. But man, does this thing ever get used a lot. Especially when you're using an impact. It saves a lot of time, man. Like those there took literally like a couple of minutes. I had to break them loose with the ratchet first, and then put that on, bang, they're out. Alright, next thing, these 2 bolts. One on here, one on the other side. Alright guys, so what you want to do here, you got those bolts out. Got these bolts out. Now for this this piece here, you're just going to push in on your track this way, get it off your sprocket underneath, and push your track all the way over to the right hand side, and that'll give you a little bit of slack. Then this here, basically I just grab the pry bar, and you just pry that out, keep prying it out, working it back and forth. This whole thing will come off, and now you're stuck with this. So what you're going to do with this, you're going to go underneath and you're going to push your track all the way ahead again, get it off your sprocket. You're going to grab this and you're going to pull this all the way this way. That way there, it's going to take it out of your chain case side, and then this should all fall out, and time to pull the undercarriage and everything away and slap the new track on. And there you have it. Sprockets out, chains off, undercarriage is right there. Now it's time to get this track up in place and put that sprocket up in place, get that all bolted in and everything, and then I'm going to throw the undercarriage under and put that back up in place and finish reassembling, and I should be done. Guys, so I'm ready to take this bearing out, and before you take this out, there's going to be a little tiny clip in here. It's like a C-clip. Well, it's not like a C-clip, it's basically the same kind of clip as what was on the other side. I'll get it for you and I'll show you. Alright, so check it out, guys. So this clip right here, it's just one of these spiral things again. So basically all you have to do is find the end of it. I don't know if it's going to focus in. So you can see how the start of it is tapered right here. So you just get a small flat screwdriver and get it under there. And you get this end out and you just keep working it around and around. And this is going to come out just like a slinky, I guess. So like I was saying about this bearing, before we get the track all up in place and everything, you want to heat up the aluminum just all the way around. Keep working your way around all this aluminum, just like that. Don't touch the bearing. Try to keep the flame away from the bearing. And you're just trying to heat up the aluminum. So work your way around and around and around to you think it's pretty warm. And what you're going to do, I'm just going to stop this for now. I just wanted to show you what I'm going to do. And I got myself a big socket, and this socket fits right on the inside part of this bearing. So I'm going to get on the inside and I'm going to tap that bearing out this way. Now that that's still hot and you have your bearing, I just took this out of the freezer. As you can see, it's pretty chilled, and that's going to help put that bearing basically almost fall right into place. There we go. That basically fell right into place. Makes it a lot easier. Now what you have to do, you have to put your clip back on, and same way, just start this and work your way all the way around, and that'll be in there nice and tight. Now that your bearing's all in place, you got it all, you got that clip in, or that, yeah, clip. It's time to put the track up in place. So make sure you got this the way it's supposed to go. Your chain case side and your brake caliper side. So you got that all like that there. Now this is kind of a little bit of a tough spot for one person. You got to try to hold this track up in place, and the left hand side, so it's the brake caliper side, has to go in first. So you push that in as far as it will go, and then once that's all the way in, and you can bring this side up and then put your chain case part through, and then you'd be able to center it all up, and then you're going to want to reinstall your that plate that goes over here with the 10mm bolts. Make sure that's still on your sprocket here before you get that in place. It really sucked if you got forced all that up in there and you forgot to put that on. Alright guys, so I got this side almost all together. Once you get your sprocket up in place, you take your brake caliper and everything, you set that in place, and that seal that I was talking about, it's right here, that bolts on to this. So make sure you have this in place. It's a little bit of a fuck job to get that exactly in place to get the bolt started. But once you get all that in place, get your shaft in place, you might have to tap your sprocket over a little bit, and don't forget to put your C-clip on this side that holds your your disc and everything on. Then you can go ahead and reinstall all your guards all right here. These bolts here that go in your caliper, make sure you put some blue Loctite on them. Now the next thing to do is to put the clutch on this side, and this side is going to be finished. And like I said a while ago, when I took this apart, I didn't screw with anything. I kept the washers and everything right on top of this. I didn't move anything at all. Put this on, and it tells you right on this here, if you have Boss clutches, torque 60 foot-pounds. So 60 foot-pounds is for this bolt that holds this all together. So we're going to go ahead, install this part, and then put this part on. You don't have to bother putting the clutch on or the belt on. You can just keep that away for now and just put your clutch on, and we'll go ahead and we'll put the belt on afterwards. I made a mistake a while ago. I thought that was the bolt on the floor, guys. Make sure you have the proper bolt. This one here, I had it laying inside the belly pan here, and it has a washer on it. So yeah, make sure you got that washer. You don't want to put the wrong bolt, and it's not going to hold your clutch on properly. So there we go, that's in there, and 60 foot-pounds for this clutch. Also, another thing I did to help me out to get that sprocket up in place, I took a ratchet strap and I ratchet strapped the track up in place. I got right up in there, laid on top of the bottom part of the track right here. I laid on there, and yeah, it helped me out a lot. I usually have the second person is around here and they're giving me a hand, but today I'm all by myself, and yeah, that went really smooth. So now this side here, before I get to putting anything together over here, I'm just going to try to clean this out a little bit. I noticed on the bottom I have a little bit of metal dust in my oil. It's not a good sign. I noticed my bottom sprocket here is a little chewed up. It's getting there. It's got some teeth marks in it, but I'm gonna throw this on just for now, and yeah, I'm gonna have to make sure I order a new one. All right, now for this side here, guys, I got the chain and everything all on. I got the tensioner back on. What I usually do for these tensioners, like I had this block right here out, but for these tensioners, just basically just take this and just let it fall. Wherever it falls, maybe you could bring it down. I usually bring it down one more tooth and just leave it sitting there. This is self-tightening, so if this is loose, this should self-adjust and fall down and put itself in place. So for this side here, what you want to do, just make sure your gears are all in real tight. And what I'm using here is just this pry bar, and what you're looking for is this groove down here to put your C-clip on. And in the top part here, this is the same thing we used a while ago on the bearing. So it's one of these machines that you just spread out. So basically you just start that in on the inside part of it and just work yourself all the way around so this snaps on. And then the bottom ring, same thing. Make sure both of these are locked in the grooves, and you should be all right. All right, so once you get your clips in, one here and one down here, what you want to do, just rotate all this to make sure, especially for this clip here, it's hard to see the bottom part of it. So just rotate the shaft or this gear, well, whatever, grab underneath and turn your sprocket. And just keep an eye on this this C-clip, and make sure it's all in the groove all the way around. It's locked in place, because you don't want that falling off. Now for the chain case cover, you don't really have to worry because it has a rubber O-ring all the way around it. So no silicone, nothing. You can just reinstall this just as is. Make sure everything's all clean, and make sure your rubber ring is all in place all the way around. It didn't fall out anywhere before you put that on. All right, guys, so I got this all together. All the bolts are in, and if you guys want to look up the torque for these, you guys can. Most of the time, I'm going to tell you is right now, these are supposed to be torqued between, I think it's 11 and 12 foot-pounds. I don't do that just because I'm scared to strip these bolts. What I'm going to do right now is this hose that was connected here, this has oil injector line. So I'm going to grab some C-Tech 2. That's what I use. That's what this engine calls for. So I'm just going to fill this up right to the top with injection oil before I put this on. Because like I said a while ago, I'm so scared of an airlock in these. That's the last thing you want to do is destroy your engine because, you know, something stupid. Maybe it won't get airlocked. Maybe it's just me. But I'm going to do that. I'm going to put the oil in it and everything. And once everything's back together, guys, and you go fire up your sled, it's going to smoke. It's, you know, so make sure it's smoking. If it's not smoking, if you got no smoke, if you don't smell any smoke, shut her down and check your lines, guys. Check, make sure she's getting oil, because yeah, you don't want to fuck with this too much, right? All right. So before you put your undercarriage back up in place, this is a good time to inspect everything and make sure everything's all right. So what you want to do, you want to check all your wheels, make sure they spin, make sure there's no slack in any of them. This one's all fine. If you hear any grittiness or anything out of these wheels, it's time to change your bearings. So like I said, this one's all fine. You got a few grease nipples. You got one here, one here, one here, and one up there. So that's four grease nipples all together. So make sure you grease all that. This one here, I usually grease it every year. And yeah, right now it took quite a few pumps to get them all filled back up. I'm going to talk about your shocks for a minute. If you got these Fox floats, anyway, what I run these shocks at, personally myself, I'm 6 feet tall, 210 pound. I run this shock here, 170 pound. So you fill that up right here. You take this there little machine off your valve stem, and anyway, and you pump that up. The front one up here is max 150 pound. So I run this one at 100. Now it's all personal preference. You can play with that. Get yourself one of these pumps if you don't have one. This comes with any Artie Cat skidoo with these type of shocks. And yeah, so you can play with that, see what you like to do. I like that setting myself. And yeah, same with the front. I think those are 150 pound too. Yeah, 150 pound too. So I forget exactly what I have these ones at. I'll have to recheck them. I think I might be running these around 100, because I do a little bit of trail driving around here to get to the trails and like the mountains and stuff. Everything's right behind my house, so just to keep it from rolling on the turns, I keep a little bit more pressure on those to keep the skis down. Yeah, so that's about it. I'm going to throw this undercarriage up in place, get it bolted in, and basically throw the hood and everything on it. I got to get some oil in it, so hang tight. Well, there it is, guys. It's all back together somewhat. I don't have the hood and stuff on it, but you guys know how to put a hood on. Hopefully, if you're going to attempt changing your track, you should know how to put your hood on. But all in all, this is as far as this video is going to go. The oil in the chain case, here's your plug right here. You just pull that out and you're going to fill that up. Well, you're not going to fill it up. You're actually going to go to your dealership, Artie Cat, Yamaha, whatever, and you ask them for the type oil that you're going to need for this sled, and they should be able to sell it to you. It's not very much oil that goes in these, and it's a synthetic blend of oil. Anyway, I never ran anything else. I go to my dealership, I get it. I forget what it is. It's like 15 bucks for the bottle or something like that. You dump that in, and that's all you put. That's it, and that's all. So wrapping everything up. Thanks for watching, guys. If you learned anything, please subscribe. There's going to be lots more. Any questions, please feel free to ask.